Special guest in conversation today. She's sold millions of books. Like myself, she left school at 15. She's had it rough. She's had it very good. She's had it even better. And yet, strangely enough, the commercial press, they don't tend to review her books that often. It's almost like, but she's doing quite nicely, thank you, without them. And that's why Martina Cole's Get Even is now available in hardback.
Lovely.
Lovely to see you.
And you.
So you did leave school at 15.
Well, I sort of left. They said to me, don't come back and we won't make you. And
Similar
I said,
kind of thing, isn't it?
Similar kind of thing.
Yeah. Were you naughty?
We parted company. I don't think I was so much naughty. I just wouldn't go. I used to spend all day over the park reading. So, but that was more really me. I just didn't like school. I just hated it.
And did your parents not sort of say, you need to go to school?
Yeah, often. I used to go, of course I will. And I wouldn't go.
You were happier in the park. But reading, how interesting.
Yeah, I joined my mum and dad actually to the library when I was very young, and they never knew. And I used to go in those days, you could go in and get the adult books, and so I'm getting books with my mum and dad.
Yeah.
And that's how I got expelled from the convent first time, because I was reading the Carpetbaggers. So
Harold Robbins.
Yeah,
that was considered racy.
Oh, it was. And I mean, I can still remember my mum saying, how does the nun know what the book was about? Which I think made me think there as well, yeah. But no, I just really loved reading. I just, and I still do. I still average 2 or 3 books a week.
I can remember reading Virgin Soldiers.
Oh, God,
I remember thinking that was a bit racy-pacey as well.
Well, actually, I remember doing a writers' conference with him years ago. Really, really great guy. And he left his book on a chair, and this lady was reading it, and he walked up, and he's, Leslie, what he's like, he's really loud, isn't he? He went, I wrote that book, and she went, I don't care. And she said, I found it on the chair. Yeah. It was a bit of a mad one, yeah.
Yeah, we used to have books like that when we were younger. My parents read, I think my parents encouraged me to read books from an early age, and they read all sorts of things. There was, in those days, and as you can now, walk up and down the Charing Cross Road to all the different booksellers.
Well, that's it. But I think I'm not a Kindle person personally. I love a real book. I'm a great believer in anything that gets anybody reading. So if it's young people and it's a Kindle, then I say go for it. But I've always been a book fanatic from when I was a little kid. I remember saving up all my money, my pennies, to go to jumble sales and buy all these books. And I can remember buying this book that had a sticker on it, and it had winner of the Winifred Holtby Award. And I thought, well, that must be good. It's won an award. And it was my first Catherine Cookson, The Round Tower. And then I got into sort of very big melodramas and everything. I just love reading. And funny enough, I was in Thameside Prison yesterday for the reading agency. A lot of people in the 6-book challenge and everything. And it always amazes me in prisons, especially the male prisons, how many young men can't barely read all right. And then they get to prison, and it's the first time they ever really sit down and read a book. And they have to write down, what they thought of the book, how they got to reading it. And some of the remarks were just so fantastic. I wish I could have took some photos, to put them on a website. Some of them said, no, I've never read a book in my life. Or, I hated reading, never liked reading at school, but finally reading. And, some of the books are sort of children's books. Others are really good, interesting books. One really made me laugh. I didn't know fishing could be so interesting. Yeah. He's obviously read a book on fishing. And I said to him, it wasn't by J.R. Hartley, was it? Yeah. And he said, honestly, I've gone fishing, obviously. He said, but I didn't know that fishing could be so, so much going on more with fishing. So I think that's, for me, is a pair of books.
I think it's we were talking to another author yesterday who was saying, of course, the thing that changed within the book world was the supermarkets stocking the books, and a lot of them
breaking the net book agreement.
That's right, exactly. And he was saying it kind of changed the goalposts. And I said, well, where I live in Twickenham, we lost 3 independent booksellers because they couldn't compete.
You're preaching to the converted here. I was really, really against it. I was one of the authors that it would actually work for, because I'd sold in huge amounts, and I was so anti the net, breaking the net book agreement. And I think it's wrong that a supermarket can or the internet or anybody can tell you how much you should pay for a book. I think it's wrong, and to lose some of those really fantastic little independent booksellers is it's shocking. It's a shame.
Oh, we had a lovely one in Twickenham where the kids would go and sit down and somebody would read to them. They could take a book off the shelf. It was the act of taking the book. That's why I don't like them on the internet or on Kindles. I think you should physically hold a book. You should smell a book.
Oh, do you know, funny enough, someone sent me this really fantastic picture yesterday. Her daughter got married and she's an English teacher. And one of the things that she had put on the posters around the venue is, I love you as much as the smell of a new book.
They do
Which
smell.
I think pretty much summed up. Such a great thing to say on your wedding day, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you been down the British Library?
Not for a while, no.
Yeah, I love going down there.
I very rarely spend very much time in England now if I can help it.
You're in Cyprus?
Yeah, I chase the heat, don't I?
Do you?
But I've got 2 bookshops in Cyprus and we do a lot of stuff there. You know, sort of like people coming in and we read to the children. We have a lovely girl that reads them in Turkish and English, so the English children pick up some Turkish and the Turkish children pick up the English. But I think it's really important, books. For me, it's always be a physical book. I think I'm getting old, really. But
we're all getting old.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, I used to hear my mum say things and I hear myself saying them now. I think, oh, God.
Well, they say that we have turned into the sort of people our parents warned us about.
You never met my mum.
What was she like?
She was lovely. But sometimes I hear her voice coming out of my mouth these days and I think, oh, my God, no, I'm turning into my mother. And then I hear my son telling his son off or his daughter off and I can hear myself in him. So it must be this thing, it carries on through the generations.
Your parents died young, didn't they?
Yeah, they died very young and I was very young, just before my 22nd birthday. So, and they were both gone in 8 months and it was a very, very, very traumatic at the time. I think that comes across a lot with a lot of people's lives. I think it comes across in my books. My women especially deal with these huge big events that happen in their lives and it's how you cope with them.
Do you see these women when you're writing? You can see them?
Yeah, I can see them in my head. Really, really thing is it, like when I'm in the prisons like yesterday, you know, and I do prisons all around the country and I do promote reading as much as possible, Young Women's Trust, we do all stuff, you know, just to get people reading. And I love the fact that my book's the most requested books in prison and the most stolen books from shops. I know, I think that's a really, really great compliment. In some of the bookshops, especially East London, they put them behind the counter. Yeah, so they can't get them.
You can have it in a brown paper bag. It's another Martina Cole.
I do love the whole concept of that. My friend's daughter was working in this really lovely beauty parlour and she said this man was pinching your books, Tina, and running in and trying to sell them in our shop. I said, did you buy them? She went, yeah.
Why did the crime thing start? What was the fascination with crime? We're all interested in crime. We're interested in people who commit crime. And of course, you coming from Essex, it seems to be a hotbed down there of strange things.
I think anyone who comes from a big council estate especially understands my books, whether I'm in Cardiff or Newcastle or I'm in, you know, Glasgow, or Sunderland, you know, anywhere I am, anyone who comes from those huge big estates understands, you know, the background of my books. I mean, the best thing of always when I'm doing signings, especially East London and South London, people go to me, is that the so-and-so family? And I go, no. But it is. And I think people do understand it. I mean, I remember years ago, me and my publicist Lou, we went pouring down with rain, rainy Wednesday afternoon in Cardiff, and I thought, oh God, it's going to come today. You know, it's really, really terrible weather, and it was packed. And you know, these were all saying, this could be here, these books could be here, and I get the same in Glasgow. Well, wherever I go.
She shifts books in Costco as well, by the way.
I do.
And they're not even a general bookseller.
No.
I'm a member of Costco. I go there all the time. And they seem to have a good turnover with authors.
Oh, listen, Costco are absolutely fantastic. I've got to say that Costco are good. And they treat you very well when you go there.
They do,
too.
don't they?
And the first one I ever done was up north. And I remember sitting on a display of garden furniture. And there was me, Leslie Pierce, Linda Page. There was a few authors there. I mean, it was a great book signing an afternoon, but it just felt a bit strange, you know, it felt a bit odd. And then they brought the champagne out and we were like, oh, well,
who cares? After
typical authors, typical authors. Oh, well, it can't be that bad. But actually, it was a really terrific signing, and I don't care where I sign on market stalls. I've been signing on Romford Market for years. I'll sign on markets up north. I don't care where I go to sign, as long as somebody wants a book signed.
My auntie used to swear by Romford Market. She used to buy everything in Romford Market because she lived in Gidea Park.
Oh yeah.
So, and you know Ilford quite well, don't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've done Ilford many times. I've done the book signings in Ilford. I used to do them. I remember doing them years ago for Boys for Rathbone Street as well as for W.H. Smith's.
Wow.
Jimmy Myers was a great guy, and once me and Gilda O'Neill went to Jimmy Myers, Boys of Rathbone Street. Gilda was so lovely,
wasn't she?
And when we got there early in the morning, he had champagne, and we drinking the champagne, and then later on we became cornered. You got a big queue, and they were coming back to get us to sign the right books. We were signing each other's books, and we were thinking, God, this is going on a long time. But I mean, Gilda was fantastic. I mean, we've done some great signings together. We had some good fun.
Yeah, I talked to her on lots of occasions. Sorely missed. As is Jackie Collins.
Yeah, oh God, I couldn't believe that the other day. I was really...
She was supposed to be in here with me.
How wonderful is she to do Loose Women and everything, you know?
Yes.
I mean,
she did Loose Women. I think then she took a turn for the worse, because the publisher sent me things saying she's really sorry to have missed you and all the rest of it. Well, you could have knocked me sideways. We don't expect people to go. She had loads of energy. She was, she
was a
all right.
phenomenon, and she was just. I mean, I was always a big Jackie girl, especially when I was young. I mean, Hollywood Husbands, Hollywood Wives are two of my favourite books of all time, and they were funny. It was laugh out loud funny in places, and she was just great at what she did. And again, like me, she was very much ignored a lot of the time, with sort of being promoted or people doing anything. But I remember her saying, it doesn't really bother me at all, as long as people are enjoying my work, that's what's important to me. And I feel exactly the same.
You do. Right, very quick break. More from Martina Cole, Get Even, published by Headline at £19.99. More from her after this. Special guest in conversation. Somebody said, I read a thing on the internet the other day. It was a journalist. She said she came down to talk to Martina Cole. She said, nothing prepared me. She said she didn't stop talking for the whole thing. She said, we had tea, champagne, ham salad. Would you like this? Let's go to the pub. She said, in the end, I left there at 8 o'clock at night. She said, I'd used up all my sets of batteries. She said, I got back and I'd done so many words. She said, and I was just so fascinated by this woman who has got so much to put into the books. And that's what happened when she started writing. There was a gap between the writing and the actual publishing, and it made headlines because it was a big deal. They'd obviously been waiting for somebody like you for a long time.
It was really strange because I was sort of like this sort of mum, a married mum from Essex, and I hadn't slept with a Tory politician and I hadn't done anything, to sort of become a bit famous. And Headline picked the book up, and it was the biggest advance at the time that I'd ever been paid to an unknown author. And I mean, it was wonderful. I'd be doing my hoovering, thinking, God, I'd get £3,000 or £5,000. I mean, I never dreamt it would be £150,000. That was in 91. I mean, there's a lot of money now, but it was a huge amount of money then. I remember my agent, Darley, ringing me up, and he said, we've had a preemptive bid. And I was going to him, are you sure you want me? I thought, I kept saying, are you sure it's for me? And he went, yes, of course it's for you. It was just the best feeling in the world. I mean, obviously getting the money was fantastic, but for me, the greatest feeling of all was that I was finally published. Yeah. All I ever wanted was to see my name on a book. I didn't think it'd be on so many.
Yes, I mean, because I'm assuming that authors, a lot of people struggle for their whole life, don't they, to try and get something published, and they go, no, we've got somebody like you, we're looking for something else, we're looking for a different direction. What you were writing
I wrote a new genre, I think that's what it was. I remember Darley rung me one Sunday and he said to me, have you got the Sunday Times? And I went, yeah. He said, well, go to the books, Martina. They've just said this is in the genre of Martina Cole. You finally made it.
You've arrived.
So I said, oh, great, they've mentioned me in the Times. But I think for me, it was always just about getting a book published. So I loved books. I was a book fanatic, still am. And I mean, I'm on the 23rd book. I mean, I can't believe it. That is 23 books on.
Do they just come? What is the process for you?
Well, I was always the one book wonder, then the two book wonder, wasn't I? No one thought it was going to last for any length of time. And the great thing is as well, with the television adaptations as well, have been absolutely fantastic because Tom Hardy in The Take brought us so many more younger men. Sort of younger men who are actually reading the books, which is fantastic, And The Runaway, of course. I mean, we had such a great cast. We're hopefully doing a 10-part series of The Family next year and a feature film of Lady Killer. So it's all sort
it's ridiculous. What's going on?
It's all gone lovely and sort of mad. So I've actually written a second book this year, nearly finished it, so I can have a year off next year. So
what do you do with a year off? What do you do?
I want to do the filming.
Yeah, right.
I want to go and do the filming, and be there properly this time,
It's worked out fantastic, hasn't it? Your parents would be so thrilled that you've become so successful.
Yeah. My dad would have just been in the pub saying, my Minnie will pay. That's what he'd have said. Yeah, my Minnie will pick up the bill. But to be honest with you, I think my mum wasn't the person who really gave you, My mum would have told everybody else how great I was, but she never told me, typical Irish.
Yeah, that works. That works though, doesn't it? Because it means you have to try extra
all the
hard.
neighbours, saying, "Oh, did you see her stuff on the TV? Or have you seen her books?" Then she'd say to me, "How are you? That'd be it." Which I think is quite a good thing, really.
I think it is good. The murders in your books are about the most graphic I think you could possibly get.
Yeah,
Where does that come from?
Someone's head in the new book.
I know. Where does that come from?
Well, the thing is, I remember years ago I'd done Dangerous Lady, and they, the first edit, late sort of for the edit, they said it was too violent, and I said, well, she can hardly hit someone with a handbag. She's supposed to be part of this huge, big, crime family in Notting Hill. And I think because it was sort of, I joined the book in 81 and it was 91 now, and I think people are still a bit nervous about women being violent, and I think women are the stronger of the species. I think that's why we give birth, and that's why this book's called Get Even.
I'm not arguing. There's 3 of you in here. I'm
Don't
saying
get
nothing
mad.
at all. Listen, I hold my hands up now.
No, we say don't get mad, get even. And I think that's a really true thing for women. We don't get mad, we do get even.
Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier about the crime museum, which you've been to, and you've been to all sorts of crime museums, because if you're interested in things like that, have you been to an autopsy?
No, that's the one thing I really don't want to either, because I don't write police procedurals. So, I mean, only occasionally when I'd sort of have Kate Borough. I think you need that for police procedurals. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm a big, silent witness fan, but I do tend to fast forward some of it. I really hate seeing those. And they're always lovely looking young girls. If you noticed her on the slabs, you never get some old lady or some old man around. They're always beautiful young girls being all cut open and everything. So no, I don't think I'll be going to an autopsy.
Anytime soon?
Anytime soon. No.
Have you been to a funeral parlour?
I have been to a few funeral parlours, actually, yeah. Actually, for one of the books I was doing, I wanted to find out about what happened when someone got shot, and, how you did make these people look better, okay again, and it's very, very fascinating.
Yes.
But it's not something I would advise squeamish people to do, because I didn't know at the time that they put cotton wool under your eyelids and things like that, and I thought, oh, God, that's...
I watched an embalming.
Oh, really?
When I was 15, because I used to work in a department store and they had a funeral director, and they had a little chapel of rest, and they had curtains down either side where they would store people if the family were coming to view. But the one on the right-hand side was being embalmed, and it's literally cotton wool in every orifice, and then they just push the stomach and everything comes out, and then they fill you with the formaldehyde to make you look presentable. Seems a bit of a waste of time, really.
Yeah, I think you waited all that years for flat stomach.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you can get it instantly like that.
In real life, isn't it?
It is funny. I think you have to be a special person, though, to be involved in that sort of business.
Well, my youngest daughter was mad to be in that business, and I said to her, because I said to her, it's very macabre. I said, why do you want to do that? And she said, well, it's the last thing you do for people. And I thought that's a really nice thought.
It's a nice gesture.
It's the last thing you do for people, and I think it should be done properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you already made provision for yourself?
Oh yeah, I can't wait. When I go after I've got all my funerals done, I'm going out of there, because we're Catholics. I'm going out to the church, to the clash. Should I stay or should I go now? Because it was always my record. Yeah, I've got it all done. I've done my funeral. I think people should. I think you should do your funerals. I think. My children are 37 now and 18, and, they're quite capable of doing it for me. But I think if it was left to my eldest son, I'd probably go out to Wish We're Here by Pink Floyd or something.
Lovely.
You know what I mean? And if it was left to my daughter, I'd probably go out to Little Mix. So I think the best thing you can do is do your own funeral and say what you want. And I don't think it should be something that people shy away from. It takes the pressure off of your children, but also you get what you want.
Yeah.
You get the funeral that
we're
you want.
rubbish at doing it. We're rubbish at doing death. They do death much better elsewhere.
Oh, the States, they do it.
The States is big business.
The States, they do it so fantastically. But that's why I think people should do their own, do your own funerals and write down exactly what you want and leave it somewhere where the kids can all see it and find it. And I think you should do it really, really, really expensively.
Are you taking all the jewellery with you?
Yeah, I'm taking a lot. That's another thing I don't understand. I really don't understand people. There's an old Irish saying, there's no pockets in a shroud. And I believe you should live your life while you've got your life.
Yes, I think. And do you live life to the full?
Oh, yeah, as much as I can, yeah. I'm a real, if I want to do something, I'll move heaven and earth to go and do it. But I was always like that. I love my life, and my children are offhand now. My oldest grandson's 18, my youngest grandson's 5. I've got an 8-year-old granddaughter.
Whoa.
Everyone's at a stage where I can pretty much do what I like, so I do.
So she's going to take a year off.
All my friends on my private Facebook, when I'm out, and I'm travelling, they always see I'm out. And they go, I don't know how you do it, Tina. But I think you should enjoy your life. You get one life, you might as well enjoy it.
Yes, it's only short.
Yeah.
And you only realise that when you get sort of past 45, 50 and you suddenly think, whoa, it races through.
My nanny O'Loughlin came for the weekend and stayed for 11 years. She was a very determined woman. But she used to say, even its longest is short. And that's true, because she was in her 90s. And it is. I mean, when you think, how old a tree is and things, we're here for a blink of an eye.
Yes,
and I think that blink of an eye, you should make your mark and go out and have a great time.
Do you vote?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'll be voting this time, though.
Really?
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you, I haven't got any of them that I would want to vote for, not even Corbyn.
No, exactly.
No.
But I was talking to somebody yesterday who thinks that the Labour Party might not be here in 5 years' time.
Well, I think at the moment with the Labour Party, I think there's so many people determined to get him in, and I think he's got good ideas and everything, but I'm just not sure that he should be running a country. And I always said the same about Tony Blair. I'm sorry, I was never a Blairite, and I always said I wouldn't let him look after my dog for the weekend, let alone the country. So, and I've got to be honest, I don't really think that there's many people in the public eye at the moment that I think should, deserve to have it's a privilege to run a country.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, Plato said, didn't he, the fact you seek high office is the whole reason you shouldn't get it. And
look at
true.
you quoting Plato to me in the year 2015.
It's true.
Dear Lord
it's
above
true.
woman.
The fact that people want to run a country says there's got to be something, you've got to be a bit of a love yourself.
There's so much hatred about, though, nowadays. I mean, I was reading something the other day about the McCanns, and they've had to turn their Twitter off because they've started being targeted.
But that's, I think, because you've got cowards who sit behind a computer screen. They're cowards. They wouldn't say this. If they had to get up off their behinds and write a big letter out to do it, you did used to get the poison pen people, but they were few and far between.
But you could spot the writing.
But nowadays, you've got these trolls who just sit there and, they can just make any hateful comment or hurtful comment to anybody.
But you just get nice comments because you're clever.
I really don't care, I'll be honest with you. I mean, if people are entitled to their opinions, a lot of people I don't like, and I really don't like, and I'd tell them as well if I saw them.
Oh, dear God.
But for the same token, there's a lot of people I do like, and I'd say, you know what, I really enjoy what you do, and you're fantastic. But it would never occur to me to do it behind a screen. And I think that the internet's the most fantastic invention ever. It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, we've come further in 25 years, I think, since we've crawled out the mud.
For us. Yeah.
But it's also got that dark, the dark net, and you've got these people who, are full of hate. There's a really great author called Denise Danks, and Denise Danks she's a really lovely person, but Denise was doing these dark techno thrillers in the 80s and 90s before the internet became like it was. And she, she's very, very technological minded. I'm not, I've got to be honest with you. I even have to get my son to sync my phone. But for the same token, we can all, we all know enough how to use a computer, an iPad or whatever. And I think that people, especially for people like the McCanns, the worst thing that could ever happen to anybody happened to them if you've got children. And whatever you think or don't think about what happened that night,
they're living with it.
They're living with it.
Absolutely. A thrill. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For coming in. And Get Even by Martina Cole is published by Headline. It's £19.99. Thank you.
Thank you.
Underneath the Colosseum are all the cages where they kept the animals and the jails where they kept the gladiators. So, the whole thing, it was just like a big modern theatre.
Yes, except you sort of went there on your lunchtimes. It was obviously just a continuous show.